You wake up every morning with the same weight on your chest, bills accumulating, opportunities that don't come, doors that seem eternally closed. You've prayed, you've asked, you've begged, but heaven seems silent. What if I told you that a 16th century Carmelite nun discovered a spiritual key so powerful that it can unlock the invisible gates of providence? What if the solution to your struggles isn't in what you do, but in what you allow God to do through a simple act of faith? Saint Teresa of Jesus, Doctor of the Church, mystic reformer, lived what you're living now. Nights of anguish, days without resources, moments when heaven seemed like cold stone. But in one of her most intimate visions, something extraordinary was revealed to her. A secret involving Saint Benedict's medal, a specific date, and a practice so simple that it seems almost naive. Yet this practice has been transforming lives for centuries, opening paths where there were only walls, bringing abundance where there was only scarcity. You might be thinking, another promise, another disappointment. But Teresa would tell you something different. She would whisper to your wounded heart, what if your desperation is exactly what God needs to show you His power? What if your emptiness is the perfect space for Him to fill with His grace? Because Teresa learned something that escapes most people. God doesn't always answer our prayers the way we expect, but He always answers them the way we need. Tonight, as you close your eyes, feeling the weight of tomorrow's worries, remember this: there are invisible forces working in your favor. There are spiritual laws that, when activated with sincere faith, can change everything. And July 11th, Saint Benedict's feast day, is one of the most powerful dates in the spiritual calendar to activate these forces. Are you ready to discover what Teresa learned in the silence of her cell? Are you ready to trust even when you don't understand? It was a December night in 1577 in the convent of the Incarnation. The cold cut through the walls like divine judgment, and Teresa, weakened by illness and spiritual persecution, knelt in her cell with no strength left even to formulate words. She had founded convents without money. She had faced inquisitors. She had endured the mockery of those who called her crazy. That night, her human resistance had reached its limit. "Lord," she whispered with broken voice, "if you want me to continue, show me the way. If not, let me rest in you." It wasn't a demand, it was a surrender. And in that moment of total abandonment, something extraordinary happened. The cell filled with a soft light, not physical, but spiritual. A presence that Teresa immediately recognized as divine enveloped her like a warm mantle. In that mystical state, she heard words that weren't audible but resonated in the depths of her soul. "Teresa, daughter, the souls that suffer need keys to open the gates I have prepared for them. Some of these keys are hidden in gestures so simple that pride despises them. Write what I show you." And then, in a vision that lasted several hours, Teresa saw countless souls kneeling, holding Saint Benedict's medals, performing a ritual that connected earth to heaven. She saw the feast day of July 11th shining like a beacon in the spiritual calendar. She saw how the medal, when blessed and used with faith on that specific day, became a channel of grace so powerful that it could break spiritual blockages accumulated for years. "It's not magic," the inner voice clarified. "It's faith made visible. It's the soul declaring that it trusts even what it doesn't see." Have you ever experienced a moment when God seemed closer than your own breath? Teresa lived that night, and from it came one of her most precious teachings. When the vision ended, Teresa was no longer the same. She had received not just comfort, but a mission: to teach souls how to activate divine providence through acts of faith so simple that only the humble could accept them. Because God, as she learned, doesn't choose the complicated to confound the wise. He chooses the simple to confound the proud. And you, reading this now, might be exactly the soul Teresa saw in her vision, ready to receive what has been prepared for you since before time began. Dawn breaks on July 11th, and you hold in your hands something more precious than gold: Saint Benedict's medal. But this isn't just any medal, it's a spiritual weapon blessed by centuries of faith, a bridge between your need and God's abundance. Teresa, in her writings, insisted that the way we begin determines how we receive. The soul that approaches God with reverence, she said, prepares the ground for the miracle. Take your Saint Benedict's medal at the first light of dawn. Find a quiet place, away from the noise of the world. Fill a bowl with holy water. If you don't have it, you can ask for it at any Catholic church, or you can bless regular water yourself with sincere faith, making the sign of the cross and asking God to sanctify it. This isn't superstition. It's faith made tangible, spirit-touching matter. Hold the medal in your hands and feel its weight. This small piece of metal has crossed centuries, has been touched by countless hands, has absorbed countless prayers. Now slowly immerse it in the holy water while saying these words. Saint Benedict, defender against evil, purify this symbol with your strength. May this medal be a shield against all evil and a channel of divine grace. Don't rush. Let each word come from your heart, not just from your lips. The most important part comes now. Drink 3 sips of that blessed water. Do you feel the freshness on your tongue? That's more than water. It's liquid faith. Wash your face gently with the remaining water, allowing the droplets to run down your cheeks like tears of renewal. This gesture, so simple that the mind might despise it, has the power to cleanse not just your body, but your soul, your emotions, your entire energy field. Teresa knew that God works through symbols because symbols speak the language of the soul. If this teaching is awakening something real in you, do something simple but powerful. Subscribe to this channel right now and activate notifications. Write in the comments, Saint Teresa, teach me to purify my soul for abundance. Your testimony might be the light another soul needs to not give up today. As you complete this morning ritual, something invisible but real is happening. The medal in your hands is no longer just an object, it has become a spiritual antenna tuned to the frequency of providence. The water you drank is working from within, cleansing emotional blockages, dissolving fears that you didn't even know you carried. And that silent prayer, born from your desperation, transformed into hope, is ascending to heaven like incense. The sun reaches its highest point, and the spiritual world awakens to a power that few understand. Teresa discovered in her mystical experiences that noon on July 11th is more than a moment in time. It's a spiritual portal, an hour when heaven and earth align in perfect harmony. At noon, she wrote in one of her private letters, when shadows disappear, the soul can see with greater clarity what God wants to give it. Remove the medal from the holy water with reverence, as if you were handling a relic. Feel how it seems different now, lighter yet more powerful, as if it had absorbed not just water, but divine intention. Hold it between your palms, close to your heart, and feel your heartbeat synchronizing with something greater. This isn't imagination, it's your spirit recognizing the presence of the sacred. Now comes the moment of consecration, the instant when you declare before heaven and earth that you trust God's providence even when you can't see it. With the medal pressed against your heart, speak these words with the authority of one who knows they are heard. In the name of Jesus Christ, I consecrate this medal to the service of light. May everything that prevents me from prospering fall to the ground, and may through Saint Benedict's intercession, blessings fall upon my life without measure. Do you feel that vibration in your chest? That's your soul recognizing the truth of what you're declaring. It's not emotion, it's spiritual reality breaking into the physical world. Teresa taught that when we speak with sincere faith, we don't just move our lips, we move the very foundations of the invisible. And right now, in this sacred hour, invisible forces are aligning to manifest what you need. After the consecration, place the medal close to your heart, on a chain around your neck or in your left pocket, the side closest to your heart. For the rest of this day, carry it as a spiritual magnet, a silent declaration that you are open to receive what God has prepared for you. Don't analyze, don't doubt, don't question. Simply carry it with the quiet confidence of one who has planted a seed and trusts in the harvest. Because Teresa learned something that changed her life. Faith acts even when we don't feel it acting. Hours pass after the noon consecration, and you might be wondering, is anything really happening? Teresa would smile at your question because she asked the same thing countless times. The soul that seeks immediate signs, she wrote, is like someone who plants a seed and digs it up the next day to see if it's growing. But she also knew that God, in His mercy, often gives small confirmations to strengthen our faith. Pay attention to what happens throughout this July 11th. Perhaps you receive an unexpected call. Perhaps someone mentions an opportunity you had forgotten. Perhaps you find money you didn't remember having. These aren't coincidences. They're whispers from heaven, small signs that your prayer has been heard. But the most important sign isn't external, it's internal. A peace that settles in your heart, a calmness that doesn't depend on your circumstances changing. Teresa experienced this many times. In her darkest moments, when the convents had no bread and the sisters looked at her with worry, she felt an inexplicable tranquility. "It's not that the problems disappeared," she confided to a spiritual daughter. "It's that my soul knew, without knowing how, that everything would be resolved." This supernatural peace is often the first fruit of authentic faith, and you might be feeling it right now without realizing it. But perhaps you feel nothing special. Perhaps the day passes like any other. Don't be discouraged. Teresa faced years when heaven seemed silent, when her prayers seemed to bounce off the ceiling. In those times, she learned the most precious lesson. The soul that trusts without feeling, that continues without seeing, that perseveres without understanding, is closer to God than the one that only believes when everything goes well. As evening approaches, examine your heart. Has something changed in your way of looking at your problems? Do you feel less anxious, even if nothing has been resolved yet? That subtle transformation is often God's way of working, not with thunder and lightning, but with the gentle breeze that Elijah heard in the cave. The medal on your chest continues its invisible work, emanating frequencies of faith that your soul recognizes even when your mind doesn't understand. Tonight, before sleep, hold the medal in your hands one more time and simply say, "Thank you." Don't ask for anything, don't explain anything, just give thanks. Because gratitude, Teresa discovered, is the language that heaven understands best. And in that gesture of thankfulness, you're preparing your soul for the most powerful part of the ritual that awaits you. As the sun sets on this sacred July 11th, you arrive at the moment Teresa considered most powerful, the hour when the veil between heaven and earth becomes thinnest. At night, she wrote in her autobiography, "When the world sleeps, the soul awakens to mysteries that daylight cannot reveal." This isn't poetry, it's spiritual reality. The darkness that frightens the body liberates the spirit to see beyond the visible. Prepare a sacred space in your room. Light a white candle. Let it be simple, nothing elaborate. The flame doesn't need to be large. What matters is the intention behind it. Take a piece of paper and a pen, and with the medal in your hands, sit before this gentle light. You're about to perform an act that Teresa called the opening of the invisible, a practice she taught only to her most advanced spiritual daughters. On the paper, write with your own hand 3 things for which you are truly grateful. Not things you think you should be grateful for, but things that genuinely touch your heart when you think about them. Perhaps it's the air entering your lungs. Perhaps it's a person who loves you. Perhaps it's simply being alive to read these words. Gratitude, Teresa discovered, is the master key that opens all of heaven's doors. Now write 3 areas of your life where you desire to see abundance and growth. Be specific, be honest. God already knows what you need. What He wants is for you to acknowledge it with humility and trust. As you write each desire, feel how the medal in your hand seems to vibrate with a subtle energy. This isn't your imagination. It's your faith creating a bridge between what is and what can be. Hold the medal above the paper with the candle flame illuminating both, and speak these words as if you were talking to your most beloved friend. May this light symbolize my faith, and may through Saint Benedict's intercession, I receive what God has already reserved for me. May my faith unlock the invisible. Don't rush these words. Let each one settle in your heart before speaking the next. Feel how the medal warms in your hands, how the candle flame seems to dance in response to your voice. Place the medal under your pillow tonight. As you sleep, it will continue its work in the realm of dreams, in the dimension where the soul speaks directly with God without the interference of the mind. Teresa slept many nights with sacred objects under her pillow, and she testified that her most profound revelations came during sleep, when human defenses are lowered and divine grace can flow freely. Tomorrow begins a journey of 7 days, a week when you will carry the medal close to your heart and observe how providence works in ways you never imagined. But tonight, simply rest in the certainty that you have done what faith requires. You have trusted without seeing. You have asked without demanding. You have opened your heart without reservations. You wake up on July 12th with the medal that spent the night under your pillow, and something subtle has changed. You might not be able to name it, but your soul recognizes it. A lightness, a confidence that doesn't depend on your circumstances. This is the beginning of what Teresa called the week of manifestation, 7 days when the spiritual work done on July 11th begins to materialize in the physical world. For these 7 days, carry the medal with you wherever you go. Don't hide it, don't be ashamed of it. Let it rest close to your heart, either on a chain around your neck or in your left pocket. This isn't mere superstition. It's a tangible reminder of the covenant you made with providence, a physical anchor for your faith when the storms of doubt try to drag you away from trust. Teresa taught her nuns something revolutionary for that time. God works through matter to reach the spirit, and through the spirit to transform matter. The medal you carry is matter sanctified by faith, and as you go through your days, working, walking, talking with people, it continues to emit that frequency of trust you activated on July 11th. It's like carrying a piece of heaven with you, a constant reminder that you are not alone in your struggles. During these 7 days, pay attention to the small miracles. Perhaps someone offers you help unexpectedly. Perhaps you find a solution to a problem that seemed impossible. Perhaps an opportunity presents itself in the most unlikely way. Don't dismiss these events as coincidences. Teresa learned to see God's hand in the smallest details, and she taught that recognizing grace is half of receiving it, but also be prepared for tests. Teresa warned that when the soul declares its trust in God, that faith is often tested. You might face unexpected challenges, moments of doubt, situations that seem to contradict what you're believing for. In these moments, touch the medal and remember, this isn't God abandoning you. It's God strengthening your spiritual muscles. The soul that resists in darkness, Teresa wrote, shines brighter when the light comes. Each morning of these 7 days, upon waking, hold the medal and simply say, today I trust. Each night, before sleeping, hold it again and say, thank you for what you are doing, even if I don't see it yet. These simple phrases, repeated with sincerity, create a rhythm of faith that synchronizes your soul with divine timing. And divine timing, Teresa discovered, is always perfect, even when it doesn't align with our human urgency. On the 7th day, you will understand something profound. Carrying the medal wasn't just about receiving what you asked for. It was about becoming someone who can sustain what they receive. Because God doesn't just want to bless you temporarily, He wants to transform you permanently. And that transformation happens not in a moment, but in the patient journey of 7 days of unwavering faith. The 7th day passes, and perhaps you're looking around with disappointment. The bills are still there. The problems haven't disappeared. The miracles you expected haven't materialized. Your faith feels fragile, your heart heavy. Teresa would put her hand on your shoulder and say softly, my child, you're exactly where I was many times. Let me tell you about the dark nights of the soul. Teresa faced periods that lasted months, even years, when heaven seemed closed. She founded convents without a cent. She cared for sick sisters without medicine. She faced critics who called her crazy and dangerous. There were nights when she knelt in her cell and felt nothing. No consolation, no answers, no signs that God was listening. In those moments, she confessed in her writings, I learned the difference between feeling God and knowing God. If you feel like your prayers have bounced off the ceiling, if the medal now seems like just a piece of metal, if doubt whispers that you are naive to believe, stop, breathe, touch the medal and remember, this is not failure, this is the deepest part of the journey. Teresa called it the night of faith, the moment when the soul learns to trust, not because it feels, but because it chooses to trust. Perhaps God's answer isn't no. Perhaps it's not yet. Perhaps what you asked for would come too early, before you're ready to sustain it. Teresa learned that divine timing follows laws that human urgency cannot understand. She wrote, God delays not out of cruelty, but out of wisdom. He wants to give us not just what we ask for, but something infinitely better, Himself. In these moments of apparent silence, don't abandon the medal. Carry it as a symbol, not of what God will do, but of who God is, faithful, even when faithfulness isn't felt. Teresa discovered that the most authentic faith isn't the one that celebrates victories, but the one that continues in defeat. The soul that loves God in dryness, she said, loves God purely, without the mixture of self-interest. This doesn't mean resigning yourself to poverty or suffering. It means expanding your concept of abundance. Maybe the miracle you need isn't money, but peace. Maybe it's not a new job, but wisdom to handle the current one differently. Maybe it's not having your problem solved, but developing the strength to face them with dignity. Teresa learned that sometimes God changes circumstances, but more often He changes us, and that change is the greatest miracle of all. Continue carrying the medal, not as a magic charm, but as a testimony of your decision to trust beyond what you see. And prepare yourself, because Teresa warned that there are depths of faith even more profound, places where the soul learns to love God not for what He gives, but for who He is. You have walked through 7 days of expectation, perhaps through disappointment, maybe through small miracles that came and went. But now Teresa wants to take you to a place few souls dare to go, the center of the spiritual castle, where faith transforms from petition into pure love. What I'm about to tell you, she would say, is not for everyone. Only souls who have learned to suffer with love can understand it. In the deepest night of her spiritual journey, Teresa discovered something that terrified and liberated her simultaneously. There is a point where the soul stops asking and starts being. It stops seeking consolations and starts seeking only God. It stops demanding miracles and starts becoming a miracle. "I no longer want anything," she wrote in a moment of profound mystical union. "I only want to want what He wants." This is the deep mystery of Saint Benedict's medal. It's not ultimately about attracting external abundance. It's about discovering the infinite abundance that already exists within you. The medal has been a teacher, not a magic wand. It taught you to pray, to trust, to wait, to continue believing even when nothing seems to change. And in that process, something subtle but revolutionary happened. You became someone capable of carrying blessing. Teresa reached this understanding after years of asking God for specific things: health for her nuns, money for her convents, protection from her enemies. And she received many of these things, but she discovered that the greatest gift wasn't getting what she asked for. It was becoming someone who could ask with complete detachment from the result. When the soul reaches this point, she wrote, it obtains everything because it no longer needs anything. Perhaps right now you're thinking, but I still need my bills paid. I still need my problems solved. Teresa would understand completely. She never despised material needs. She asked for bread when her nuns were hungry. She sought money when the convents needed repairs. But she discovered that when these needs are placed in the context of total trust, they are met in ways that surpass understanding. Hold your Saint Benedict's medal one more time, but now not as someone asking for something, but as someone offering everything. Say these words and mean them as deeply as you can. God, I give you my needs, my desires, my timeline, my way of understanding. If you want to give me what I asked for, I receive it with gratitude. If you want to give me something different, I trust your wisdom. If you want to give me nothing visible but only yourself, that is enough. This isn't resignation, it's revolution. It's the soul declaring its independence from circumstances and its dependence solely on the love that sustains the universe. And when a soul reaches this point, Teresa discovered, it becomes so free, so transparent, so aligned with divine will, that miracles happen naturally around it, not because it demands them, but because it has become a channel through which heaven can work on earth. Weeks have passed since that July 11th, when you first held Saint Benedict's medal with trembling hands and desperate faith. You may have received what you asked for, or you may still be waiting. You may have experienced small miracles, or you may feel that nothing visible has changed. But if you have walked this journey with sincerity, something profound has transformed within you, and Teresa wants you to recognize it. Look in the mirror and see if you can perceive what she would see: a soul that has learned to trust beyond feeling, to hope beyond evidence, to love beyond reward. You began this practice seeking abundance for your life, but you discovered abundance in your soul. You started asking God to change your circumstances, but you allowed God to change you. And that transformation, invisible to the world, is more valuable than all the gold in the universe. The medal you carry now is no longer just a blessed object. It has become a symbol of your spiritual journey, a reminder of the night when you chose to trust despite not understanding. Teresa would tell you that this is exactly how the soul grows, not in moments of clarity, but in moments of darkness when it chooses to believe anyway. The medal, she would say, was never the source of power. You were. The power was always in your faith, in your perseverance, in your decision to continue loving God even when He seemed silent. Perhaps people around you have noticed changes they can't explain. Maybe you handle stress differently. Maybe you speak with more peace. Maybe your presence itself has become a blessing to others. This is how divine abundance truly manifests, not just in what we have, but in who we become. Teresa learned that a soul transformed by genuine faith becomes a living miracle, a walking testimony that God is real and active in the world. If you received material blessings during this journey, receive them with gratitude but without attachment. If you didn't receive them, continue in trust but without bitterness. Because Teresa discovered the ultimate secret. The soul that has learned to be happy with God alone can be happy with God, plus anything else. But the soul that needs things to be happy with God will never be truly happy, even when it has everything. Hold your Saint Benedict's medal one last time in this formal practice, but know that the practice itself never ends. Every day is an opportunity to choose trust over fear, gratitude over complaint, surrender over control. Every morning you can wake up and decide, today I will carry the invisible medal of faith in my heart. And that invisible medal, forged in the fires of trust and tempered in the waters of surrender, is more powerful than any visible symbol. Teresa would want you to know this. You are not the same person who began reading these words. The soul that sought abundance has become abundance. The heart that asked for miracles has become a miracle. And the hands that once grasped desperately for security now rest open, ready to receive whatever love wants to give, and ready to give